Welcome back to the deep dive. We are jumping straight into something pretty massive happening right now.
Yeah, African Lion 2025.
Exactly. We're pulling insights from an article detailing it. And this isn't just, any military drill.
No, definitely not. The source calls it the largest joint military exercise on the African continent.
Largest ever, or just largest ever?
Largest annual, but involving a record number of nations this year.
Okay, so we've got this article, and our mission today, yours and mine for the listener, is really to unpack the key facts from it.
Right. The scale, who's participating, where it's happening, and maybe most importantly, the strategic thinking behind it all.
All based on the source material, of course, and it's already underway.
Yeah, just kicked off. The opening ceremony was in Agadir, Morocco.
Okay, so largest exercise, record nations. The source mentions unprecedented level of multinational collaboration. Let's start there. What does that actually look like on the ground?
Well, it looks like over 30 nations taking part.
30. Over 30.
Yeah, the article really flags that as a record number. So quite a coalition.
Wow. That's significant. So who makes up this group? Give us a feel for the diversity the article mentions.
Well, obviously you have the co-hosts. That's Morocco's Royal Armed Forces, the OFAR.
Right.
And the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes way beyond them.
Okay.
The source lists major NATO allies like France, the UK, Italy, the Netherlands.
Okay, the usual suspects.
African nations. Ghana, Senegal, Tunisia, Chad, Niger, Benin, Burkina Faso. Plus, partners from the Middle East are involved too. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Egypt.
That is an incredibly diverse mix. Geographically, politically. And didn't the article mention observers as well?
It did, yeah. Specifically points out Israel and Japan are there as observers this year.
Interesting. So this huge group, over 30 nations, all under the high patronage of King Mohammed VI, as the source notes. What does bringing this specific group together at this scale tell us? What's the significance, according to the article?
Well, it signals a few things pretty clearly. First, it definitely reaffirms a strong geopolitical alignment, between NATO-aligned countries, African partners, Middle Eastern allies. Okay. The source kind of presents the exercise as these nations collectively saying, we're committed to sovereignty, stability, collaborative defense here in Africa.
And it boosts Morocco's role.
Yeah, the article suggests it bolsters Morocco's position as like a key regional security hub, a reliable partner for counterterrorism, peacekeeping.
And the source puts this into a wider context too, right? Regionally.
It does. It highlights that this year's exercise feels particularly significant because of rising instability in parts of West Africa.
All right.
And it also notes, factually, the growing influence of Russia and China in the region. Yeah. So the exercise, by bringing this coalition together, well, the source presents it as a response to those dynamics, reinforcing existing partnerships.
And we're just relaying what the article says. They're not taking sides.
Exactly. Just presenting the perspective given in the source material.
Yeah.
It's clearly framed as a signal in that specific context.
Okay, got it. So the scale and who's there serves a strategic purpose tied to current events. Now, how do you actually train over 30 nations together? Where does all this happen?
Right. Well, it's not just one big base. The source explains it's executed across several different strategic zones within Morocco.
Why spread it out like that?
Basically to simulate a really wide range of scenarios, different environments, desert, coastal, urbanish areas maybe.
Yeah.
It enhances readiness and interoperability across all those different terrains and situations.
Makes sense. Which locations did the article specifically name?
Let's see. Agadir, that's a key hub. Tantan, Tifnit.
Yeah.
Ben Gurir for airborne stuff. Kenitra for naval coordination.
Okay.
And Mabez, which the article notes is quite near the Algerian border, used for live fire drills.
Ah, interesting placement. So different locations likely mean different types of training scenarios. What are they actually practicing?
It's a really comprehensive list in the source. You've got live fire exercises, obviously, counterterrorism simulations.
Which means what exactly? Practicing against non-state actors, that kind of thing?
Yeah, asymmetric threats, unconventional attacks, also airborne operations, maritime drills, and chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear defense training, CBRN.
Wow. Okay. Covering a lot of ground. Did the article highlight any specific training segments in more detail?
Yes, it broke down several key areas. For instance, joint live-fire combat drills. That's like mechanized infantry and artillery working together in a coordinated way.
Okay.
Then naval maneuvers.
Right.
That covers everything from coordinating warships to maritime interdiction.
Like practicing stopping and searching vessels.
Exactly, and anti-submarine warfare.
Oh.
Also, cybersecurity operations are a big part, simulating attacks, practicing defense.
Cyber's everywhere now.
It really is. And there's a significant focus on humanitarian assistance and disaster relief HADR.
So not just combat.
It's not at all. This involves running field hospitals, coordinating airlifts, emergency logistics, basically practicing how to respond effectively if there is a major civilian crisis or natural disaster.
Okay.
And also multinational airborne paratrooper missions, simulating, capturing and holding specific terrain.
It really sounds like it's designed to tackle those complex challenges. The source mentioned instability, potential CBRN stuff, disaster response, cyber.
Exactly. The article's quite clear this isn't just a show of force. It serves these really practical, critical, strategic purposes.
Right.
Like strengthening military interoperability, that's key. Making sure all these different forces can actually communicate, share logistics, operate together smoothly.
Getting everyone on the same wavelength.
Pretty much. Also sharpening rapid response capabilities for counterterrorism. And, like we said, being prepared for CBRN threats and humanitarian crises.
It sounds like the training directly flows from those broader strategic objectives. Who's actually running the show, coordinating this huge thing?
The article states it's co-directed. You've got Morocco's Royal Armed Forces Southern Zone Command and the U.S. Army Southern European Task Force, Africa CETAF-AF.
Okay, so joint leadership reflecting the joint hosting.
Right. And the source suggests this leadership structure really underscores the depth of this strategic partnership between Morocco and the U.S.
Were there any specific quotes in the article from leaders?
Yeah, it mentioned General Belkir El Farouk from the FA. He was quoted emphasizing Morocco's commitment to regional stability and its role as a key U.S. partner. And Major General Todd Wasmond from the U.S. side, CETAF-AF, was quoted hailing Morocco's logistical and strategic excellence in pulling this off.
High praise. Definitely sounds like a major undertaking for Morocco as host. How long does it all run for?
The timeline in the source is May 20th to June 5th, 2025. So just over 2 weeks of pretty intensive operations.
Okay. But African Lion itself, the exercise name, that's been around for a while, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. The article traces it back to 2004. Started smaller, likely bilateral, between Morocco and the U.S. initially.
And it's just grown since then.
Massively. The source describes its evolution into this, well, full-fledged multilateral defense platform we see today.
Reflecting changing times.
Exactly. Reflecting the evolving nature of security challenges across continents. The article mentions the rising need for unified responses to things like hybrid warfare.
Which is that mix of conventional, irregular, cyber, disinformation.
Right. That plus climate emergencies, regional conflicts, all these complex modern threats.
And Morocco's been there from the start.
Yeah, the article makes a point of saying Morocco's been consistently at the forefront of this cooperation since it began.
This has been a really good deep dive into African Lion 2025. Just thinking about everything we've unpacked from this article, the scale, the sheer number of countries, the really diverse training, the strategic goals. What are the key takeaways for you, for our listener?
I think maybe two main things stand out. First, just the scale and diversity. It really shows a significant, visible commitment from a whole range of nations towards working together on security in Africa, especially, counterterrorism, regional stability. It's a statement about alliances.
Okay. And second?
Second is the complexity of the training itself. It's not just tanks and planes. It's cyber. It's humanitarian aid. It's CBRN. It shows a clear focus on preparing forces for the kind of multifaceted, messy reality of modern conflict and crisis response.
Yeah, it paints a picture of preparedness for a complex world, not just practicing fighting, but practicing cooperating across borders, across different types of emergencies.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that collaborative spirit, the trust being built.
Right. Okay, so here's a final thought for you listening. Based on all this, if the goal here is building that interoperability, practicing complex responses, how might the actual relationships forged, the procedures tested, the lessons learned during an exercise like African Lion, how might that directly influence how this diverse group works together the next time a real crisis hits, whether it's military, humanitarian, whatever? How does this practice translate to reality? Something to think about.